When I was 15, I would travel the country giving speeches about the Constitution. I'm not going to do anything weird to make myself 15, so here I am, I'm 15. The Constitution is a living document. It is a warm, steamy document. It is hot and sweaty. Our bodies had just been left out of this document from the beginning. They were just like, we don't know what to do with this kind of a body. Our Constitution acknowledges that who we are now might not be who we will become. Whenever I get to this part, I have this desire to protect my 15-year-old self. I didn't tell anyone. I have no idea why. My friend Renee and I wanted to be on birth control just in case we were in a hot tub and the sperm swam up and attacked us. Or, you know, in case of a real attack. There will not be a woman on the Supreme Court until 1981. There are 9 men deciding the fate of birth control, 4 of whom are cheating on their wives. It is because of this Constitution that I can stand up here today and insist on a better future for our country. I met with young women who are doing these contests today.
I am one of this generation's founding daughters telling you I want a document that takes action on climate change.
Let's start with our own personal constitution and build our way out. Thank you.
I feel so excited by young people lately. I really do. I feel like you all are shining a light backwards into the darkness so I can follow you into the future. My face just fucking hurts from smiling like that.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me and my very special guest. She is the award-winning playwright and star of the phenomenon known as What the Constitution Means to Me, which has been filmed and will begin streaming on Amazon Prime on October 16th. And he is the show's award-winning director. Please say hello to Heidi Schreck and Oliver Butler. Welcome, you two.
Hi,
how are you?
Thank you so much.
That was so exciting to watch again. Oh, listen, before we get into talking about the show, first of all, how are the two of you and where are you both coming from?
I'm in Brooklyn.
Heidi, we'll start with you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in Park Slope. I'm here with, I gave birth in April to twins. So I'm here with my 2 babies. My husband's taking care of them downstairs right now. That's where I am. And just trying to get through these days like the rest of us and do what I can to get ready for this election.
Perfect. Well, congratulations on the twins. And Oliver, where are you?
I'm at the National Theatre Institute in New London, Connecticut. This is the first time I've left the state in 9 months or 8 months or however long it's been. And actually I'm out here teaching in a sort of very strict socially distanced way. I just got out of my quarantine. And Heidi and I actually developed, parts of the play out here at the National Theatre Institute almost 3 years ago. So,
because I want to go back to the beginning. How did the two of you originally meet to start working on this as playwright and director?
Well, we've known each other a long time, and I was a huge fan. I am still a huge fan of Debate Society, of Oliver's company, and then we've done readings together, and I just always admired his work deeply. So when I'd been working on the piece kind of by myself for a long time, and then with a couple different directors, and then in 2017, when Maria Stryer asked me to do it for Club Thumb, I needed a director, and part of the reason I thought of Oliver, actually, I mean, being a huge fan of his work, but we had also just gone to the Women's March together. We were on the same bus. And so we'd spent quite a lot of time talking on the bus. And so when Maria asked me that, I was like, oh, one of my favorite directors. And we just did this sort of activist thing together. I'll ask him if he wants to direct the play.
So Oliver, when she asked you, what was that all like when she approached you?
It was I mean, it was pretty amazing, and it was it was also like a very normal conversation. I mean, Heidi and I, we met at the West Bank cafe across from Playwrights Horizons. I think I was on a break from working. Debate Society had a show going on there, and we sat down. And you know, Heidi, I'll say she sort of very sort of humbly. She didn't sell it. She just sort of told me about the story. And
I sort of pitched. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a soft pitch, and I think it was sort of the exact way to talk about it, because honestly, even just having her talk about like the simple like pieces of the story, immediately you could hear the sort of like the incredible layers that would come from the piece. And there was both a really core thing that already existed. A lot of the writing in a different order than it's in now existed, but also there was a lot of sort of, maybe there's a young person in this piece. Maybe there's a person in it who was my age at that time. And I'm someone who sort of loves like formal experiments in theater. So for me, I just got sort of excited about something that could sort of actually grow into what it wanted to be.
Yeah. Well, first of all, how excited are the two of you that this was filmed and now will begin streaming on Amazon Prime in 2 days on the 16th of October?
Ecstatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ecstatic, and also, you know, every time the show kind of moves to a bigger arena, it's scary for me. And I will say there's also something, the show is such a, I mean, one of the things Oliver and I discovered together while rehearsing it, you know, it took us a while to figure out like how it operated, you know, and one of the ways it operates is that it is this kind of living experience, the way the Constitution is a living document. And so there was some, you know, although it's pretty structured, there's places for it to change. There's little moments of improvisation in it. And then of course the debate, which is something we came up with together at Club Thumb, changes with the times. You know, we're constantly updating that debate. And so there's something slightly horrifying about freezing it in time. You know, it's hard. I'm so happy that more people get to see it. I'm happy that like young people who like me didn't grow up near Broadway or even near a big city can, you know, I saw all of my theater because of PBS Great Performances and like a record my mom actually had of The Glass Menagerie. So I'm really happy it's going out there, but there's something a little painful about it going out in this frozen form.
Oliver, for you.
Yeah, I agree with what Heidi said. I mean, part of the magic of the show, the spell that the show casts, is that you are always right there in time when it's happening. So it's even, you know, I think in a more extreme sense than just your average play. It exists in the moment that it's happening. So there may be something lost in the sort of frozen version that you could never get if you freeze it. However, part of what I loved about the pitch of the show to me and the idea of it is that it's meant to have a practical impact in the world. You know, it's meant to model a way in which people can have a personal connection to the Constitution. And considering we're in this pandemic, there is no other way for it to exist right now except in this form. And while we're watching, you know, a new Supreme Court justice be, you know, interviewed on television right now, while we're watching democracy happening in all its sort of messy and broken ways, I sort of just like, I just feel so grateful that it can, you know, fulfill its original intent to have a practical impact, hopefully get people out to vote, and also just get people taking our civic life even more personally.
Yeah. Well, since you mentioned voting, you know, we have people watching this all around the world now, and we'll watch this, you know, in rerun. Would you just mention how important it is for people to register and vote, and what's at stake with this election? Heidi, I'll start with you.
Everything is at stake in this election. I think the very survival of our democracy is at stake. And then the thing that gets addressed a lot in the play, especially with these Supreme Court hearings, I think some really fundamental human rights are at stake right now. And so I think, yeah, if we don't all go out and vote, I have I think, like a lot of people, I really have a question about whether this country will survive as a democracy.
Yeah. Oliver, for you.
Yeah, I'll say that this play has ushered in my own sense of activism. I became an activist partially in tandem with the development of the play. And all of my activism is framed around the idea of getting people to become more civically active in their own communities. Of course, the vote as like the purest version of that, but in all those different ways. I am extremely nervous about the future of the country. This is the most consequential election in my life and possibly in anyone's life who's alive today, possibly. Some people may make that case. On the positive side, I'll say, isn't it great to live in really important times where your vote has never mattered more, and where we have this opportunity to come together as a country and possibly, actually move the country in a direction that we want it to go. That's my positive side. My scared and anxious side, which I promise you is there every time I get up, is we cannot mess around with this. You have to be involved now. No one gets to sit this out. Sitting it out is a choice. And there are so many ways for you to be involved, voting and also helping other people vote and protecting the vote.
So I've been doing the same thing. It's funny, when I first saw your show at the New York Theater Workshop, I said, oh, I know the Constitution. I knew nothing about the Constitution until I saw the show. And I was so happy that you gave out little copies of the Constitution, because I thought the Constitution took care of everything and protected everything. And it protects so little when you come to think about, especially like in the Trump administration now, I mean, women's rights, immigration rights, all of this stuff. I mean, it made me political. As soon as I walked out of New York Theater Workshop, I thought more of like, what can I do to push more people into thinking about what these upcoming elections and what the United States means to me? And I think it must mean the same thing to you two.
Could I also say even further than just the rights that are not in the Constitution, the rights that are not actually in law?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's what we've learned is like, I just feel like, wait, nothing is illegal anymore. Like there's no laws that protect anyone from anything. They're all just guidelines. It's just like, it's actually sort of embarrassing that we spent this much time without codifying our values into some sort of law. So that is the experience. It's like, no, it does not protect enough.
Yeah. Heidi, for you.
I mean, I, like Oliver, I think, well, first of all, I also didn't really know, although I did the contest as a teenager, I didn't really know anything about the Constitution until I started making this play. I certainly had never looked at it as closely as I have now looked at it. Yes, I think my discovery is similar to Oliver's. Like, I think there's just, I actually felt a profound sense of shame for how much I didn't know about how our country works, how our laws work, the setup of our federal government. And the play has also made me become more of an activist. Like I've learned because of the play how important, for example, state governments are and local governments. I kind of think I had the illusion that a lot of Americans have that like everything is decided at this federal level, and that's not true at all. So it's made me understand sort of viscerally that the country really doesn't work unless we attend to it, which I don't think most people have done. I mean, there's been a core group of activists, there have been incredible people in the history of our country, but the majority of the population, I don't think participates the way we all should.
Yeah. And I also want to mention, we just lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and to me, it's the whole Supreme Court. And I was just wondering what your thoughts are. Like, I went back to read your play again and just try to put all of this stuff into perspective, where you see our Supreme Court going, or, what it's going to miss with her gone.
I mean, our Supreme Court is going to a 6-3 conservative majority, which is disastrous. And we know it's disastrous because we know, I mean, the words that Clarence Thomas just put out about marriage equality, we know this nominee's opinion of Roe v. Wade, the protections that have frankly been so hard won and are still too little and too late are all now in danger of being rolled back. And I think it's terrifying. I mean, I think about it a lot because the Republicans have spent 30 years, or a certain sector of them, putting this into place. And I think about having these two daughters and thinking about what the court will look like for the next 30 years of their lives. It's really terrifying. And I feel like everything needs to be on the table. Like, I think the Democrats do have to think about adding justices to balance out this court. I think we all have to fight to pass laws on the state level that protect people. It's I think it's a disaster for human rights, what's happening right now.
Yeah. Oliver, for you.
Yeah, everything that Heidi said, it is a complete disaster. I mean, not just the metaphoric importance that RBG had in the world, the very practical work that she did both on the court and before the court. There is the potential for her work and a lot of other people's work to be erased by this court. If Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed, 5 of the 6 conservative justices will have been put forward by presidents who did not win the popular vote. So for me, this is like layers and layers of democratic failure. And we've also spent years sort of accepting this idea that these conservative justices talked about, existing constitutional law as like settled law. And I think we all can wake up and say that was all a ruse to get us comfortable with putting, radical right-wing judges on the court. And our eyes are open now. We may have lost this round, but I think that I am a part of one generation and multiple generations behind me of people who will never forget the name Merrick Garland, will never forget the name Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and will spend every waking hour of our lives balancing this so that we can enshrine the rights of all people in our document. There is no point in my life where I will stop. So I have been radicalized towards equality, and that is what will have to balance this great injustice.
Thank you for that. That's why I think this vote is so important for everybody to get out and vote and make a change, because one voice turns into 10, which turns into 100, which turns into thousands that can make a change.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for that. I want to go back to Heidi. You're donating some of the proceeds from the filming of this to 2 incredible organizations. Would you tell our audience what those organizations are and what they mean to you?
Absolutely. So I'm donating to, we made a small profit on the film, not a huge one. Let me say that. I really wanted to make a lot of money and give it away, but I did make enough money to be able to donate to organizations that I deeply, deeply care about. One of them is the NAACP. Specifically, I mean, I am giving the money for them to do with what they will, but they do have this incredible. They have for a long time had an initiative that's about protecting voting rights, about making sure that people know where they can vote, that there are poll workers, that the polling places are safe. And so I asked if possible that my money go toward this election, but they will know what best to do with it. And then to Broadway Cares specifically, again, so I just feel like in this moment, when so many in our industry are suffering deeply, to donate to an organization that helps sustain and specifically provide healthcare to those who work in the theater at this moment. It feels like, there couldn't be a better place to try to give money, but also just bring attention. I mean, there's this great organization, Be an Arts Hero, that is doing a ton of lobbying in Washington and trying to convince our lawmakers to come up with some sort of initiative to help arts workers who are so crucial, in fact, as you know, to this economy, and will be out of work more than anyone in any other sector, for longer than anyone in any other sector. And so I chose that organization to donate to just to do what I can. I don't feel like it should be up to us to donate. I feel like our lawmakers should do something, but in the meantime, that's what I'm doing. I also have a very, I was helped by the Actors Fund when I was younger. Not even that young. In 2012, I could not pay my rent, and I went to the Actors Fund, and they paid my rent for that month, like no questions asked. It was not a loan. I didn't have to pay it back, and so I'm forever grateful for that and want to give that gift hopefully to someone else.
Thank you for that, because, it seems like the arts is this forgotten sector. It's like there are bailouts for all these other things, and then someone says, oh, well, arts people should do something else. There's nothing else to do. There are no other jobs to do, and this is what you do. And it brings billions of dollars to our economy all around the world. And until this Save Our Stages or this Heroes Act, which, money is in there, it just seems like it's this forgotten thing. And it's just so frustrating, I'm sure, to all of you too.
Yeah, I mean, it's enraging. Go ahead, Oliver.
No, I think that I'll say we, but I don't want to put it on the artists by saying we, but I'll just say the industry has not done a great job of educating people about the value of arts. My mother was an actor. I grew up in the theater. I had equity health insurance growing up. I now have SDC health insurance growing up right now. It's like, I understand the importance of the arts in life and what it brings to communities. The average person has no idea, actually, the sort of sorry state of salaries for artists, especially in the theater before this all happened. And then, of course, if you haven't made the case for how critical you are in the world before a problem hits, then you're going to be left out when it does. So we just need to do a much better job of talking about how it's both like essential for people. The art form is essential, but we're a huge money-making force in the world. And people don't make the connection between actually just like how valuable the theater work is and how it actually impacts all these other industries. So we're gonna have to change that and probably have better, stronger, more badass leadership in our advocacy organizations.
Beautiful. Heidi.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%. I mean, I feel like it's deeply sad to me that, first of all, like, I wish we could lead with the argument that like art and theater and culture matters, but like it hasn't. Our country historically has not seen it that way. So, that is a bummer to me, that it can't also just be like, look, this is actually vital to the health of a country. Like, it's vital that the art we make and the stories we tell and the things we put out there are vital to a nation's survival. But that argument, I think, is, for whatever reason, impossible to make in this country to our lawmakers. So the fact is that we live in a capitalist country, and the arts are, I was reading the statistics recently, right? It's like something like theater in New York, or the arts and culture, I guess, is like 13% of the economy or something. It's a huge economic driver. And I agree with Oliver, for some reason, that case is also not landing. And I don't understand why. I find it baffling, especially since the politicians from this city in particular love to go to the theater. A lot of them came to the play.
Sure.
And I wish they would step it up,
Could I also throw in too, what occurs to me is, I spent years as a theater carpenter doing off-Broadway work, installing, so I worked as a technician for a long time. And, I am glad that we're talking about artists. When we talk about theater, people just mention Broadway. They don't understand that actually there is massive artistic value in the non-commercial theater, in the off-Broadway theater. And I also want to say, like, the technicians, the things that you don't also talk about, there are massive amounts of technicians and also the administrators. The capitalist system forces us to sort of pit each other against, and I understand it's easy to talk about the actors, the people on stage, the artists, but there are, for every one artist on stage, there's like 15 to 30 other people who also have their livelihoods attached to this, who don't have the sort of fancy, these are the lighting, the lighting technicians, these are the people who run the show, these are the stage managers. You cannot undersell just how devastating it is for people who will never be mentioned.
Beautifully put. You know, you mentioned your mom. We want to let everybody know that your mother was the late, great Pamela Peyton Wright, brilliant actress. We were talking about this before we went on because I had seen your mom do a lot of stuff, including The Glass Menagerie with Maureen Stapleton. And I think this is a full circle moment for you two also, because Heidi, did your mom stand by in that show? Tell us.
So it wasn't my mom. So my mom's dream was to move to New York City and become an actress. She did not get to do that, but her best friend from college did. So she came to New York, and one of her first jobs was actually understudying Oliver's mom. So I remember hearing about Oliver's mom when I was a kid, because it was so exciting that my mom's friend was on Broadway and understudying this brilliant actress, and and that, yeah. So I knew of Oliver's mom when I was a kid living 3,000 miles away in a tiny town in Washington.
I'll say one of the things that this show has worked on me in sort of, I'll say, spooky ways.
Yeah.
Like there's mysterious ways that sort of things become aware, sort of apparent to me through time. And our connection through mothers, obviously the play talks about connection through mothers, but our connection to our mother, it's sort of after the fact reinforced that this was the right relationship. I mean, my mother also, Heidi talks about having a very personified personal relationship with stuffed animals in the play. My mother, I'm not afraid to say, spoke to a whole world of stuffed animals in my life. The sort of imaginary world of her life was very real in a very strange and sometimes unnerving way, but it was also the part that made her very, very special. So I just think that Heidi has a spirit that I think, exists on a similar plane as the spirit of my mother. And she never got to see this play, but, I got to tell her about it before she passed. And it was I sort of hope that there was a little bit of mystery, a little bit of overlap in the spiritual world where, she got to absorb a little bit of this sort of important piece I was working on.
That's beautiful. The national tour started with your show, and of course, the wonderful Maria Dizia, who I want to go on record as saying is one of the greatest actresses of all time.
Agreed.
Took on your role at the Mark Taper. How wonderful was it sort of changing the play a little bit, adapting it for her, and watching her portray Heidi?
Sorry, moving the sun is setting. Real life.
It's great. It's very dramatic. It's really great.
Yeah. Working with Maria is one of my favorite people. She's a friend. She's someone I've always wanted to work with and never have gotten the opportunity. And I really can't think. She just really was the perfect person to help us, figure out how this play exists in another body. And it was a dream. I mean, it's very scary. It's probably what Heidi was saying about the film of this coming out, is that every time we do something different, every time we change a piece, the question is, does it still exist? Does it still work? And the thing that Maria did was, this play was still the play it was, and yet it had this whole other layer of her as a part of it. And so, I could make the case that the play is sort of about people or the country becoming themselves again. And by adding the additional layer of a different actress in it, you had this opportunity to also remove the Heidi character and for the person to become themselves. And so for me, it was actually, you can't even talk about like better, worse. It has its own life and its own meaning that can only exist because of the person that Maria is. And it gives us confidence to do it, with other actors as well.
Well, we have 1 minute left. Heidi, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I mean, I just felt so lucky that Maria wanted to do the play. I couldn't believe it. And it was just, it's what a miraculous thing for me to get to see my own play, actually, with such a great actress in it. I learned things about my play. I also felt, there was some way in which she could be sort of more generous to myself than I can be. And so there was something like, she also gave me the gift of seeing myself in a kinder way, if that makes sense. There's something really beautiful about what she gave to me by performing this play.
Well, we cannot wait to see it go up again. I think, is it Casey or Cassie Beck is going to take over?
Yeah, Cassie Beck, also brilliant. Yep.
Beautiful. So like I said, we are out of time. Like I said, it starts streaming. What the Constitution Means to Me starts streaming on Amazon Prime on October 16th. I have had such a wonderful time catching up with the two of you today.
Thank you.
It's great to talk to you.
All right. For all the fans of Broadway World, stay safe, wear a mask, and vote.
Yes.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.